affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates. This is StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh. Revi. On our weekly flagship show, The Talking Point, we're looking at Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party's Congress with Shikha Aggarwal, who's in Taipei, and Chen Pokong in New York. A warm welcome to all our viewers who are joining this live stream, and a welcome to those viewers who will pick up this stream later on our YouTube channel. As we said, from Taipei in Taiwan, we welcome you for the first time on our platform, StratNews Global, Shikha Aggarwal. She's an expert on China elite politics and has been writing a lot of it lately, in the last week at least. Shikha, thanks so much for your time so late in the evening for you.
Pleasure being here.
And in New York, we have Chen Pokong. He has appeared on StratNews Global before. He's an ex-1989 democracy movement leader. He's an author, a YouTuber. In fact, he's recorded his own show today so that he can come live on StratNews Global. Chen, thank you for giving us time.
Thanks for having me here.
Chen, I know we're expecting the names of both Politburo and Standing Committee members to be announced over the weekend. But what's your assessment so far on how much Xi Jinping has cemented his grip on power? Are there any surprises for you?
There are three possibilities. We can say one is Xi Jinping wins all. That means the winner takes all. Xi Jinping not only wins the third term, then he put his allies, many members, into the standing committee of the political bureau, such as the Central Office Director Ding Xuexiang and other like Shanghai mayor or Chongqing mayor or Beijing party, not mayor, actually party chief of Shanghai, Chongqing and Beijing or something like. If this is the way Xi Jinping win all and other current standing members kicked out, like Li Keqiang, Wang Yang, and Zhao Luoji, the head of the CCDI. If this happens, the situation, Xi Jinping win all, this possibility is one extreme. Another extreme is Xi Jinping surprisingly, dramatically, step down or give out at least one position of his power. That will be surprise. So both extremely option may be less possibility, but there's a middle way. Another possibility is the fractions balance kept, like Xi get into his third term, but he has to give powers to other anti-fraction like Li Keqiang, Wang Yang still stay in the standing committee. If this is the way in the middle, that means there's still a balance of the different fractions in the party. And also another very important thing is if the 7 or 9 standing members show the successor of Xi Jinping, if there's one or two people clearly showed, obviously they are successor for 5 years later, that means Xi Jinping lose half. If there's no show, anyone could be his successor. Xi Jinping will continue not only 5 years, maybe continue, more and longer. So the changing factor still there. So it's a time of, it's a time of maybe surprising or maybe everything in most people's prediction.
That is the expectation, that it not just one term, maybe 2 or even more. But Shikha, you heard what Chen is saying. What's your reading on what Xi Jinping is doing with the men who either stay or are brought in, and of course it's only men, in these key political, legal, propaganda, security, military bodies?
Amitabh, I completely agree with Chen's initial assessment that he's going to fill both the Politburo and the Politburo Standing Committee with his people. That I think is a given. But at the same time, yes, there is going to be certain, adjustment with other factions as well. And in that I see Hu Chinhua either being retained in the Politburo, where he already is, or being promoted to the Politburo Standing Committee. Now, having said that, I think there is going to be an overarching emphasis upon the composition of the Politburo tomorrow. But at the same time, with Xi Jinping's scheme of things, Politburo is no longer just the center of authority within Chinese elite politics. His power actually rests upon certain other bodies as well, and two of those very important bodies are one is the CCDI, that is the Commission for Disciplinary Inspection, Central Commission for Disciplinary Inspection, and the second body is the National Supervisory Commission. So, along with the membership of the Politburo, I think these are two bodies that we should actually be focusing upon a lot, because they will give us very insightful view into Chinese elite politics, deep insights into the underbelly of Chinese elite politics. One other organization that I would specifically be interested in is the CPLAC, which is the Center Political and Legal Affairs Commission. And the reason that this body is very important was that this body was once used to be headed by Choi Yong-kang, and it was during Hu Jintao's first tenure that at the behest of Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao's Politburo Politburo Standing Committee were expanded from 7 to 9 members. And out of these 2 seats, one was given to the head of the CPLAC, and in Chinese we call it the Changfa. It was given to the head of the CPLAC. And this was a Jiang Zemin scheme of things in a way, to sort of, because the CPLAC is the one which controls the entire public security edifice in China. Later on, Choi Yong-kang came to head the body. So when Xi Jinping reign starts, he actually reduced the size of the Politburo Standing Committee back to 7, and the position that he demoted was the CPLAC. And earlier also with Choi Yong-kang, one practice had started that the Minister of Public Security used to get promoted to the CPLAC, and then from CPLAC, he would either get a seat at the Politburo or at the Politburo Standing Committee. So this became, what should I say, a very safe career to reach at the pinnacle of political power in China. Okay, but once he took down Choi Yong-kang and relegate, and also reduced the status of CPLAC from the Politburo Standing Committee to Politburo, the second thing he did was that. Till Meng Changchu and the current incumbent, Ko Sheng-kung, they were the ministers of public security, and then they went to become the CPLAC heads and then enter the Politburo. However, the last Minister of Public Security, that is Chao Ke-chi, in 2017 was when he was made the Minister of Public Security. He was already at the age of 65. So basically, this rendered him completely incapable for any further promotion. So in a way, the Minister of Public Security can no longer become the head of the CPLAC. So the chain is broken now, and the present person who has been anointed as the next Minister of Public Security, his age is also 64 years, so that effectively renders him incapable of another promotions. And as we already know that the Ministry of Public Security is one area which has been the target of Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign. So going forward, it would be very important, very interesting for all the watchers of Chinese elite politics to see whether CPLAC even retains its seat at the Politburo or not.
Sure, you're talking about wheels within wheels there. But Chen, as Shikha mentioned, the anti-corruption purges and reform policies played a key role over the decades in Xi Jinping's consolidation of power, right?
I think so-called anti-corruption is very fake. It's just a power struggle. So Xi Jinping, why he can stay in power or continue his term, he almost used every year, every day, every hour, every minute for power struggle. His only thing is to grip the power. So anti-corruption institution like CCDC, the Central Discipline Inspection Committee is very important. If this time, I think Zhao Luoji will retire from that position. Zhao Luoji is still young, and he was born 1957, and now he is 65 years old. He is the youngest standing member, in current standing member. He may move to another position, but the thing is, who will be the new head of the CCDI? If that person is Xi Jinping's allies, like people said, Chen Ming'er is the party chief of Chongqing. If his allies get into the position, that's a nightmare for other party fractions. That means Xi Jinping is really a full overall dictator in the future. So, so for the past 5 years, Zhao Luoji, because he was backed by many senior politicians, so he was relatively in the middle, independent. So Xi Jinping hate him. They have a lot of power struggle each other. Some Xi Jinping's people took down by Zhao Luoji. So Zhao Luoji's change or new person's move, that's an important point to see. And also to judge Xi Jinping's win or fail, there are many factors. Another factor is premier. Who will be premier? If the premier is Wang Yang or Hu Chunhua, Wang Yang and Hu Chunhua belongs to Li Keqiang's fraction, anti-Xi fraction. They are belong to, they call youth leaguer fraction from Hu Jintao, the former general secretary. So if Wang Yang or Hu Chunhua, either of them to be premier, that means there is a balance of power. There is a balance. But there's a lot of differences between Wang Yang and Hu Jintao. If usually Xi Jinping was very jealous of Wang Yang because same qualification, similar age, and Wang Yang is very talented, and Wang Yang is a reformer, is an open person, mild, political, and a popular person. So Xi Jinping is very jealous of him or envious. Xi Jinping, if these two people must choose, Xi Jinping prefer Hu Chunhua, younger and more, obey to him. But if not, if the premier is not Hu Chunhua, not Xi Jinping, not Wang Yang, as now the rumors said could be Li Qiang, the Shanghai party chief, that's Xi Jinping's ally, then the balance is broken, and the politics go to Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping very one person show, one person party, one person dictatorship. So this is a very important point to see. And another point is for the constitution of the party. They try to change the constitution of the party, so-called updates or adoption. So there is a very important rule on the chapter 2, number 6 said the party prohibits all forms of personality cult. Xi Jinping and Wang Huning is his partner, the master of ideology, try to change this rule, regulations, try to change it. If this rule, this part, this item was removed or changed, that means Xi Jinping win all. Xi Jinping is the emperor, Red Emperor. His position could be like Kim Jong-un, and China turned to be, when Chinese people said, North Korea is North Korea, but China is West Korea. So going to be North Korea. And Chinese people said, North Korea is a miracle country. Well, North Korea is not only the past of China, it will be the future of China. So that's a nightmare for the whole China. So if this constitution of the party cannot be changed, the chapter 2, number 6 cannot be changed, that means Xi Jinping failed in this part. So many way to see this big issue.
Sure, interesting point you're bringing them up there with the constitution and personality cults being banned with Shikha. Personality cults aside, there were unwritten age and term limits that were set up. But in your mind, how has Xi Jinping actually been able to exert his power the way he has?
Amitabh, it's a very interesting question, and allow me some time to answer it.
Sure.
Yeah. Amitabh, actually, Xi Jinping, in my assessment, is a creation of the situation that the party found itself way back in 2012. Actually, during beginning from the reign of Jiang Zemin, the idea of corruption posing an existential threat to the party had already started taking shape, and this we can find from the this can be gleaned from the work reports of Jiang Zemin and very unequivocally from the work reports of Hu Jintao, and also a lot of publications which were associated, the Chinese language publications which are associated with the party. They had started coming up with this idea wherein the threat of corruption had started getting linked with the absence of a very strong central leadership. So, in a way, what these writings were suggesting, and they were coming from very established academics, what these writings were suggesting is that if party had to survive and deal with this malice of corruption, then they needed a very strong leadership. Now, this got transformed into intent by the time that Hu Jintao gives his work report at the 18th Party Congress. What this work report does is that the section on there used to be a concept called consciously upholding the central leadership. This particular phrase was turned into a separate section in the work report, which would eventually mean that a lot more emphasis is being paid on to this idea. Moreover, the very idea of or the concept of collective leadership was completely missing from this work report. So we can say that by now they had within the party itself they had started emerging a consensus that in order for the party to survive, they needed a very strong centralized leadership. So now this got further transformed into actions that that Xi Jinping was able to take. And during very early on in his career. And one of the most consequential of these actions was his taking down of Choi Yong-kang, who was a retired Politburo Standing Committee. Now, what Xi Jinping does by attacking a retired Politburo Standing Committee member, these people were hitherto sort of enjoyed an immunity from these sort of actions. But the moment you take action against a retired PSC member, then you are rendering everybody, right from Chiang Zemin to Zhen Qinghong or who have you, you're rendering all of them vulnerable. And we have to understand that the Xi Jinping of 2012, 2014 wasn't powerful enough to have taken this kind of an action all on his own. He really needed the backing of the party elders for him to be able to take this kind of an action. So basically, he actually got the approval of the party to go ahead. So this means that why would the elders let him take this kind of an action? The reason could be that maybe they all realized that the malice of corruption within the party had seeped to such a level that they now had to take a very decisive action and start targeting the big fish and make an example out of it. So this was the context in which in order to make this party survive as the governing entity of the People's Republic of China, I think a consensus emerged regarding having a very strong centralized leadership. However, what we can sort of say with certain degree of confidence is that what was neither anticipated nor agreed upon was to the extent to which Xi Jinping will take it. But Xi Jinping, all said and done, is somehow a creation of the party itself and the circumstances that the party found itself in.
Sure. Chen, just wanted to get your views on some protests that were reported on social media. How significant are those so-called bridge protests, Chen? Was there any resonance in Chinese society or social media?
Yes. This is a big event. Even one person shakes the country, shakes the world. His name is Pen Zhaizhou, Mr. Pen, and he did this himself in the capital, in the Beijing, in the center of Beijing, in a bridge called Sitong Bridge. Now he was called Bridgeman. Like 33 years ago, there is a tankman. Pen is a bridgeman. Why he has so big influence is because Xi Jinping want to guarantee he can go to the third term. So he put all the police, armed police, and the army and their MSS plain clothes police everywhere. So everywhere, every street, every corner has their own people watched. But even so strict, so tight surveillance, this happened in the heart of Beijing. And Mr. Peng used a couple of hours set up his son in Beijing's Sitong Bridge. Sitong Bridge is they call overfly kind of cross bridge. On there, he hung on two huge slogans, huge banners, and use a speaker, microphone to speak out, shout slogan, and then burn a wheel, burn a car wheel to make smoke to attract people's attention. So he did this in a few hours and successful. Even though he stand there waiting for arrest, he was arrested. But he was so brave, and he is look like only one person. He is alone. He's alone here. He's alone here, though. But he is on behalf of millions of Chinese people, or most Chinese people, because actually the true public opinion is against Xi Jinping. People don't like Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping is the most unpopular Chinese leader ever since the death of Mao Zedong. So he was hated by most people. So Mr. Peng's voice makes the most people's voice. That's why after he made this action, hero action, he was arrested, but his slogans spread on internet everywhere, and the Chinese government, Xi fraction control internet and propaganda machine control everything. Even now, people cannot buy clothes said more than 1 inch or 1 meters clothes must be identified by your name, because if you buy white clothes, you may write slogans. And also, another thing prohibited is about painting prohibited in Beijing to sell. If you want to buy painting, you must have identified your need or use. So that means Xi Jinping looks powerful, but he's very scared. He's very scared. Now, the funny thing is after Mr. Peng's protest, so Xi Jinping deployed many people like they call bridge watchers, even public toilet watchers, and road watchers, and telephone poles watchers, everywhere watchers. People ironically say now the biggest position employment opportunity come to be watchers everywhere, and paid 320 yuan a day, renminbi a yuan. So everywhere, that means how weak this country, how weak this regime, how weak Xi Jinping's base, because this is a recent. Mr. Peng showed the recent. So now we can see another person, another video, another picture show another guy maybe in Guangzhou or another place standing in a truck or van and standing there hung on slogans around the car and also shout slogan Xi Jinping down, down the Xi Jinping, and Xi Jinping should step down. Something like stop the so-called zero COVID policy, lock down the cities. So yes, he was arrested. Yes, but more and more people showed their angry to Xi Jinping. So Mr. Peng, I think his name will be written in history. He made a big influence. He made a big shot for Xi Jinping. Even there may be some influence in the party. I think not only the common Chinese people hate Xi Jinping, and most the party members hate Xi Jinping. So I think even though the party members they are not to say a word, but I think they welcome Pence, behavior. They, secretly admire him. So hopefully there are some influence in the party, even though we don't know the final result. But this is a big political event. Shocked Beijing, shocked Zhongnanhai.
Shikha, if you want to talk about dissent and domestic politics, there's also a question from one of our viewers, Jaideep Gadavi, who says, we've seen reports of aggression perpetuated by diplomats from China and Britain and Lithuania. Are these stray incidents? Or are we seeing a pattern developing? He's talking about wolf diplomacy. We can taken a bit too physical.
Yeah, I mean, this I would say is one of the I don't know. I think all diplomats are supposed to be nationalists, but of late, what we have seen, and it began with 2020, when when with the COVID pandemic and China came under attack for unleashing it upon the world. I think what we have seen is the Chinese foreign ministry and the Chinese diplomats acting in the most undiplomatic manner. And that is true for all the countries that they are dealing with. And I think it comes from the highest level. I mean, these are, I won't really call them stray incidents. I think they have the sanction of the highest authority. And the reason I say it because if we recall the meeting, the bilateral that happened between the US and China, which was attended by Anthony Blinken from the US side and Yang Jiechi as the representative of the Chinese delegation, the kind of language and the kind of body posturing and everything that was used by Yang Jiechi, we can actually call it a very one of the most undiplomatic meetings in the history of bilaterals in the world. So if the high and Yang Jiechi actually represents Chinese foreign policy within the Politburo. So and for India, he's a very important person because earlier in his role as the State Counselor for Foreign Policy, he was the special representative from China under the SR mechanism that we have with China for dealing with the border dispute. So I won't really call them stray incidents. So there is a pattern which has become very commonplace within Chinese diplomacy and all of their diplomats, whether it's about the Chinese embassy in India issuing gag orders to the media. Yeah, so this is a pattern that is emerging, and it's called the wolf warrior diplomacy or everything. But I don't really think there is anything diplomatic about it. Moreover, there's nothing that China is actually achieving by this, because whenever they are acting in this sort of way in any of the country, they are actually getting a pushback, like from the Indian side, the kind of statements that was issued by the Indian embassy in Sri Lanka. It was a great pushback against the Chinese embassy, and the kind of statements that the MEA spokesperson has issued against the gag orders that the Chinese embassy tried to issue against the Indian media. So they have been receiving this kind of pushback, but I don't know who is sanctioning or who is basically, who has designed this kind of a foreign policy outlook in China. Because even if we look at within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there are people who have been, who have voiced a dissenting opinion against this kind of diplomatic attitude or undiplomatic attitude, we can say. And one of the most prominent voices has been that of Suetan Kai, who was the Chinese ambassador to the US, and he's a retired diplomat now, he's a career diplomat, and he himself has spoken against it. So, but I don't understand who has designed this kind of a foreign policy approach for China. But no, it's not a stray incident, to be very honest with you.
Sure. Chen, talking about pushback, what do you see as the implications for India with the course that is being charted by the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping? Specifically, during the last week, we've seen PLA officers who were involved in the Galwan clashes in Ladakh with India were delegates at the Congress. A video was also played. So, what do you see as the implications for India going ahead, Chen?
I think if Xi Jinping continue to be the super leader of China, India has the biggest challenge and also has the biggest opportunity. The biggest challenge is Xi Jinping and his people. They hold nationalism to call for so-called China strong, or to be strong, to be regain or something. So there could be more hostile between India and China. Also, India is democracy, China is a dictatorship. But on the other hand, India has a good chance, good opportunity to develop India. When Xi Jinping get into office 10 years ago, China's GDP is more than 10% each year, highest in the world. But now it's even lower than 2%. And they refuse to publish the GDP number for the third season. So Xi Jinping actually used his way, damaged all the chance for China. economically and for the U.S. China relation, and Europe China relation, and China relation with all other neighbor countries. So even Russia and North Korea are not reliable for China if there is a war or something. So I think India has a chance to quickly develop economically, militarily, and geographically, geopolitically. So India has a chance. I think India should grab the chance to, surpass China, to be a great country.
Shikha, you're mentioning different Indian reactions in relation to other Chinese actions. But the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has made India's position very clear, both, I presume, privately to Wang Yi and other officials, and publicly several times, that there'll be no normalcy in relations unless there's normalcy on the border. So, how do you see Chinese policy towards India developing post this Congress?
Amitabh, see, there are two things that I will say, and they are a bit, they might just appear a bit contradictory, but they are not, and I'll explain why. The first reason is that the video that was shown at the National People, sorry, at the Congress, of the Chinese. Soldier who was dealing with the Indians, and there was a whole, this thing was made out of it. And it was not the first incident that this man was being celebrated. And last year at the 100th anniversary, he was given the Communist Party of China medal. He was awarded with that medal. And before that, at the Beijing, Olympics, he had carried the Olympic torch as well. So, when you do this, what you are doing essentially within the, when we approach it from the dynamics of China's internal politics, see, Xi Jinping, China's internal politics is, CCP is not a monolith. We have to understand that there are different power centers within the CCP. Now, factions form one sort of a power center, PLA forms one sort of a power center. So I'm not trying to suggest a monolith versus a monolith kind of a situation over there, but the man sitting at the top, he has to, sort of, yes, he has all the power in his hands and everything, but in order to, exercise that power, he also needs to, at times sort of, allay their fears, or, give in to their demands and all of that. Now, what happens in Galwan is that, after the Vietnam War, it is the first time that the Chinese are losing their soldiers. And also you have to understand, it's a one-child country. So, all the people, all the 47 people who are dying, they were the single kids of their families. So, here the PLA becomes a very important constituency that Xi Jinping has to satisfy. So he has to, raise the rhetoric to this bar. Okay, so that is about the internal dynamics of it. But what you do when you raise the rhetoric, when you raise the nationalist rhetoric to this bar, you create a nationalist sentiment within your public. Now, any leadership which ends up creating this level of nationalist sentiment cannot go back from it. Okay, so now Xi Jinping is in a position that even if he wanted to, and I'm not saying that he wants to, even if he wanted to, he cannot go back. But having said that, let us wait for tomorrow. And here, what would come very important for us is the composition of the CMC, that is the Central Military Commission. Let us see how many people, or if there are representatives from the Western Theatre Command that looks after India, are there people from the Western Theatre Command within the CMC? So let us look at the composition of CMC first. And also, I would say, let us look at the composition of the Foreign Policy Commission. Because in China, what Xi Jinping has done is, as I mentioned earlier as well, it is not just anymore the Politburo and the Politburo Standing Committee, which are the final decision makers. They are the final decision makers, that they have the last vote on any policy. But a lot of the deliberative power has been taken away from the State Council and has been given to all these commissions, which used to be the leading small groups earlier, and now they have been raised to the level of commission. And certainly Xi Jinping is the chairman of all these commissions. So there is a commission called Commission on Foreign Policy, and Yang Jiechi is the secretary of that commission. So let us see who are the members of this commission, because they will have a decisive say on the foreign policy issues. And of course, India comes under a very what should I say, a very important foreign policy issue for them. Let us look at the composition of the CMC, and then so the rhetoric part of it is there, the nationalism part of it is there, but then there is also the structural part of it, which deals with the structures of these bodies. So let us comment upon that once we have the composition of these bodies.
Chen, you were talking about how this is also an opportunity for India economically, geopolitically, geostrategically as well. But the economy and the slowdown of the Chinese economy, the zero COVID policy, or any of the policies that, since Xi Jinping is at the, you know, fulcrum of pyramid, so as to speak, if those policies are not doing well, doesn't that affect him?
Yeah, Xi Jinping basically a person do not care for economy, do not care for people's life. He care for his own power. So in his 10 years, a lot of lose, a lot of failure, but he controlled the party media, controlled the propaganda machine. So any lose, any failure, he can portray it as a success, as a win, as a victory. Even he lost the conflict with India, paid double soldiers death number than India, but he also painted as a winner, and he is a winner, even though he retreated from India border. So the thing is, economically, as Xi Jinping said, when he talk about zero COVID policy or lockdown policy, he told in the party, he said, don't just talk about how much in economy, how much for people's life. You should count political cost, political price. Said politically we are benefit, but he didn't say himself, but that imply himself. He benefit from this policy because he want to use party media, propaganda machine to say his policy is correct. He's the only winner in the world. China's policy to anti-virus is the best in the world, and other country lose or something. He just want to spread, enhance those fake news, fake information in China. According to India, I want to make up some points. I agree with Shikha's points. But one thing is, even though Xi Jinping continue his leadership, he cannot resolve the inside problem, especially in the army, in military. For example, the Western military zone of PLA. Actually, Xi Jinping is changed 4 commander in 6 months. Why? From Zhao Zongqi to Zhang Xudong to Xu Qilin to Wang Haijiang, finally Wang Haijiang, and Xu Qilin only stayed 2 months. Zhang Xudong only stayed 6 months, and Zhang Xudong died secretly, and the government do not make announcement of his death, and his family member published his death on internet. Then we know that means something happened there. According to my source, I know the Western military zone faced to India. The soldiers do not want to fight India. They are scared of all. They are scared of conflict. As Shikha said, they are one-child policy, from one-child policy family. Family members do not want them to die, and they don't want to die. And even though 45, maybe 40 to 45 Chinese soldiers died in the Taliban conflict, Chinese say Taliban conflict, but the Chinese government only admitted 4 people died there. So other family are angry. Other family members are angry. They protest, but Xi Jinping control the family, give money to that family, block their mouths, don't say. Think about it. They reduce the number to 10%. So the army soldier do not want, and also the jailers do not want to fight. The reason is this army, PA, is very corruptive. Xi Jinping in the first 5 years, yes, did some anti-corruption in the army, but for the retired general. But in his second 5 years term, he never do any anti-corruption in the army because he dare not to do. He was reluctant to do. If he do, many generals or commanders will stand up to against him. So he just leave one eye open, one eye closed. So the army is very corruptive. The generals are very corruptive. Many generals use money to buy their rank. So they do not want to do any war. They are scared by war. They do not want to fight with India. And also Xi Jinping gave them wrong information. Xi Jinping's people said, oh, India very weak. India very behind. India's army very abandoned. Easy to defeat. But actually, when they fight with India soldier, they realize it's not true. India gets stronger. Indian military gets stronger. India's soldiers are very brave. So finally, the Western, for my understanding for my knowing, the Western military zones, from generals to soldiers, do not want to make China-India conflict. So this is Xi Jinping's problem. Xi Jinping want to make a win, at least one win for his 10 years, but he didn't make it. So this is a big challenge for him in the party. Even though he continue his leadership, I think there's a danger in military. If he really make all to India or to Taiwan or to American, mostly he will lose. He will lose more than Putin.
The economy is a challenge for Xi Jinping, for China. Shikha, those numbers that we were expecting or usually are given out didn't come out, raising a lot of speculation as to why that's so. My question is related to what Chen and you have been talking about. When someone concentrates so much power in one person himself, then when policies fail or don't go so well, why is that person not harmed? Is it like Chen says that Xi Jinping and the CCP can control the narrative completely, even when things are failing?
Amitabh, one part is yes, he can control the narrative completely because the narrative in China is controlled through the propaganda department. And if you have your man in the propaganda department, is yes, you will be able to control the public narrative. That is, so that would certainly happen. So one part is controlling the narrative. The other part is, controlling the structure of the party in such a way that you are at power at every lever of the party. So if you have that kind of a structure in place, or you have been able to establish that kind of a structure in place by having your people in all the right positions, then certainly even the backlash that could have come from the party itself won't really be able to come to you, or won't really be able to be directed against you. So that part is there. And I think Xi Jinping, and I'm not too sure if we can single out Xi Jinping in this thing. I think this is more of a CCP culture, or maybe Chinese culture per se, because let's go back to SARS. Did Hu Jintao come under any attack because of the SARS pandemic? He did not. It was entirely blamed upon the local officials. So yes, I would agree that under Hu Jintao's regime, the entire idea of collective leadership and was more strong than what is there with the Xi Jinping. So the buck should stop with him. But ideally, in the Chinese system, we have never really seen the central leadership coming under any attack for any of the things that go wrong. Or maybe it has to do, as I said, the Chinese culture part of it. In the Chinese culture. The emperor used to be the son of the heaven, and as the son of the heaven, the emperor could never go wrong. So and because if the emperor goes wrong, then it was meant that the mandate of the heaven has been taken away from the emperor, and he was no longer fit to rule. So this also becomes a part of the public psyche. I'm not saying that people are reading these things and they're not revolting against Xi Jinping or expressing their discontent or whatever. But the thing is that at the public policy, at the public level, any discontent cannot turn into a very concrete sort of an opposition against Xi Jinping, because the propaganda department is in charge of what information is disseminated to the people, and how they can react about it as well. If you start criticizing the leadership too much, then on Weibo or any of these Chinese platforms, then your comments would be wiped off from the social media immediately. So that certainly that bars the dissemination of information, of this kind of information amongst the general public. But at the party level itself, he controls all levers of power. The anti-corruption campaign is there, and let's face it, Amitabh, I am really not of the opinion that the anti-corruption campaign was only a political tool. Anti-corruption campaign is actually is a double-edged sword. It is directed against institutionalized corruption in the system, because actually, like I mentioned in my previous comments as well, corruption had actually become an existential threat for the party. So it's not that all these people who are going down, they are only going down down because they are Xi Jinping's enemies. They are going down because they have been, they have done the sort of corruption that they are being blamed for. But it is also true that, he has been able to use it as a political tool. So, so the people who are involved in the system, there are so many of them are corrupt. So the anti-corruption campaign can be launched against anyone. So, it's the structure of the system and the way he controls the system and the control over the popular opinion, at least the dissemination of the popular opinion, it all lends us to a space where nothing can coalesce into, an effective opposition against Xi Jinping.
Chen, before we end this discussion, your quick thoughts on what are the signals you get from the statements that have been made and, of course, the actions that have been taken on Taiwan. Xi Jinping saying that he'll never commit to abandon the use of force. So when could that come by, Chen?
Xi Jinping, has an ambition to take over Taiwan. This could be two sides. On one side, he used Taiwan as an excuse to convince the party to let him continue. He said only him can resolve Taiwan issue. That means only him can take over Taiwan. This is an excuse for him to extend his power term. This is one side. Another side is when he get into third term, according to his promise or his kind of theory, then he has a pressure, so-called responsibility to take over Taiwan. So both these two factors could be, dangerous for Taiwan. So that's why, U.S. Americans said even this year, CCP or Xi Jinping could have a sudden attack on Taiwan. So Taiwan, the U.S. should be prepared. I think the thing is, Ukraine saved Taiwan and Putin saved Xi Jinping. What I mean is, Xi Jinping imagined three things were happening from last year to this year. First thing happened, he was satisfied. That means the Taliban take over Afghanistan. He think, this is the first thing, the dictator can win again. Then he predict the second thing will happen is Russia will easily take over Ukraine. That's why he, make announcement and said China-Russia cooperation is no limit, no ceiling limitation, can, all kind of, cooperation and support. But he surprised Russia, lost, Putin failed, and Ukraine stand. Ukraine president is brave, and people are brave and stand there. So this way, the third thing Xi Jinping imagines, after Russia easily take over Ukraine, it's turn to China, turn to him. He can easily take over Taiwan. That could be the third thing that Taiwan just surround, or Taiwan government just run away, flee, and people just surround. China take over. No one can say anything. But Ukraine and Ukraine's president and people changed everything. So now in the party, people has to consider if Xi Jinping's promise or what he said is reliable, or it can be do or cannot. So Xi Jinping himself maybe determined want to do, but it's very, I can say it's many people in the party could disagree with him. Even though he want to change the party to be his one-person party, maybe he put his allies on top everywhere. But even in his fraction, there are different opinion about Taiwan. So on one hand, I can say make a conclusion. So on one hand, Taiwan is in danger. It's dangerous. Maybe Xi Jinping can anytime make a risk attack Taiwan. But on another hand, maybe Xi Jinping just use that as an excuse to continue his power, his political life. So that could be fake. But whatever, U.S., Taiwan, even India should be prepared. India cannot stay aside, cannot stay outside of, Taiwan straight all. If there's a war, that could be the third world war. So U.S. will defend for help Taiwan. Japan is more determined to help Taiwan. So I think India is a big country, is a big power now, and India's military is strong. India should make it clear. Do not let this happen. So if India make it clear, so make Taiwan, Taiwan straight or reduce some extent, it's good. It's good voice, good voice, good sound for the world, not only for India. It's for the world peace of the world. So India cannot be silent. India must unite with Taiwan to against China, communist China.
Shikha, I know you've been saying, and we all will be watching the next couple of days to see who is in, who is out, are the changes, who stays on in all the different bodies, but not just the Politburo, the Standing Committee, or the CMC, but the other bodies that you were saying. But overall, would you go as to so far as to say that irrespective of who is there, Xi Jinping will become more assertive and possibly more confrontational globally?
Yes, he will. Assertive because Amitabh, the amount of power that he has concentrated in himself, and also the kind of personality cult that he has unleashed within Chinese politics and within the CCP politics. Any leader who does not look assertive enough, either within domestic politics or at the foreign policy front, will not be able to survive this. Because he has already enough. Once you have this much power, then you need the means to justify that power as well. So he has to sound very assertive. So yes, the assertiveness would be there, and this assertiveness, but the problem is not assertiveness. Assertiveness is fine. The problem is when this assertiveness time and again would translate into aggression. So that is something that we have to watch out for. And as far as the aggression bit is concerned, and especially with us, that is India, is concerned, again I will reiterate my point. Let us wait for the composition of the CMC, because I'm not really very sure as to where the direction is going, whether it's the party which does not want to fight, or whether it's the army, that is the PLA, which does not want to fight. I think this is something that, further going on, we really need to watch out for. We really need to study very deeply. And again, I will reiterate my point. I'm not trying to suggest a monolith versus a monolith, but there are always differing opinions within the system, and sometimes you have to give that that these sort of calculations have to be taken into consideration before you make any decision. So let us wait for the composition of the CMC and the Foreign Policy Commission, and then we can sort of say. But yes, as far as his assertiveness in his capacity as the leader of the People's Republic of China is concerned, yes, we are going to see a more assertive Xi Jinping in the next 5 years.
Prudent words there, Shikha Aggarwal. Thank you for giving us so much of your time so late in the night from Taipei. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Chen Pokong, thank you as well for giving us time. I know it's around the same time when you go live on YouTube. It was a pleasure having you on StratNews Global again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for calling me, Amitabh.
Thank you.
Pleasure's ours to have both of you on our platform. And thanks to all of viewers who've stayed on through this longish discussion. You can, of course, just log on to our social media handles. We also have a Telegram channel, which if you join, you will get the latest notifications for the articles and videos that we put up. There's also a QR code, a UPI QR code that you can scan. That's up on your screen currently. There's a link in the YouTube descriptor if you want to support us as well. This is The Talking Point on StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh Revi.